ललिता అది ఆపేయాలి నువ్వు. गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट. गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है. Today we're going to talk of Turkey, which is India's over the horizon adversary. Because it's far away, it's not in our mind, and hence the problems. But before that, we wish you a very happy Deepavali and hope you and your family have a great time ahead. Right, let's start in getting involved with Turkey at the outset. Look, like Pakistan, Turkey has a very critical position in global geopolitics or the military geography or geopolitical geography of India, of the world, right? It's the cut between the Occident and the Orient, right, from good old days, right? It provided the connect for people coming from Europe to Asia and Asia to the, and it also to a large extent historically was the bulwark against the Roman Empire. It was the Caliphate. It was the Ottoman Empire. Actually, the Turks controlled the Asia Minor and all that area, right? So that part, the Turkey has always been relevant in history, in modern history, and it's always been a center of Islamic culture, religion, whatever it is, right? And even now it carries forward the whole thing. Turkey has lost a lot of relevance in international affairs, but it is critical. In every place it is there. It is there between Russia, Ukraine today. It is there with Israel, Middle East affairs. It tries to interfere in India, Pakistan affairs. It also tries to be European. It also tries to get into BRICS, the whole lot. It wants to play a larger than life role in international affairs. It's got its ambitions based on its past. At one point of time, say 10, 15 years back, it wanted to be part of Europe. Today, it wants to be part of whatever. And it feels it's a leader in the Islamic world. And hence, along with Iran and Saudi Arabia. And then it interferes in all affairs. Understanding Turkey is important from 2 points of view. One is Turkey has a very good relationship with Pakistan and China. Remember that. Okay. The second part of and this is despite being a NATO member. And the second part of the story is if you want IMEC to succeed, you need to marginalize Turkey. We have no choice. And these two things I will elucidate as we go along. But let's get to some fundamentals about Turkey. Its capital is at Ankara. Yeah, this is Ankara. It's an area of 783,000 square kilometers approximately. It's got a population of 84 million, very small, right? You can imagine what is 84 million, 1/3 of Pakistan. That's the way I look at it. The languages spoken there are Turkish, Kurdish, Arabic, all that. It's got a sizable Kurd problem, and that comes here in the intersection between Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. That's where the Kurdish people are, and that's where the problem with the Kurds, because they're split 4 ways into 4 countries. Right, it's got a pretty good life expectancy of about 74 years for men and 80 years for women. Why I'm saying this is it's a society which is reasonably well developed. I mean, you'll be surprised the annual income of a Turkish resident is in the region of $15,000 a year, which is quite good, mind you. It's quite good. Okay. It's been the center of the Ottoman Empire, and also today it's the Republic of Turkey. And the Republic of Turkey and its modernization and everything is attributed to Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Uh, he started after the Ottoman Empire disintegrated in at the end of the First World War, right? And then he modernized it, and this is important to the extent that the way Turkey was modernized by Ataturk, and we had good relations with them, mind you. There's a Mustafa Kemal Ataturk Road in Delhi, incidentally. You go there, Kemal Ataturk Marg. Uh, you know, Pervez Musharraf wanted to follow the Turkish model to modernize Pakistan. He fashioned himself after Ataturk, failed, of course. So, right, okay. And this is a NATO country. It's also a SEO dialogue partner. It seeks entry into EU. It seeks entry into BRICS. In BRICS, we have stopped. These are candidate country for EU and BRICS, and the Europeans don't want them, incidentally. And a lot of migration from this part, Syria, Middle East, Iraq, and Turkey itself into Europe goes through Turkey. The Turks don't keep anyone; they just ensure that anyone who comes in is pushed out. They don't hold anyone. They're very clear about it. Okay, so it's a country which plays all thing. It's got a GDP of $1.3 trillion. Mind you, $1.3 trillion for a people of, 8 crores plus is quite good. Its GDP grows at about 3.2% annually, average. But interestingly, in the past 2-3 years, its economics have been wrecked by Erdogan. And Erdogan wants to play a larger than role life. I mean, inflation's up to 50-60% per year. That's what I've established here. Is on the cards. And it's got a modernized military because it is works on NATO standards, whether it's Navy, Army, or thing. So for us to think that we'll go and do some military action out there and all is not on the cards. Let's be very clear. Neither can Turkey come and do anything to us directly. So that's why I said it's over the horizon. Turkey is our over the horizon adversary. And if you want geopolitical influence, in Europe, in West Asia, and of course here, you have to marginalize Turkey diplomatically, largely, and by influence, not by getting into a war or something which people keep talking of. Okay, let's look at this place, you see, in a slightly different manner. This is, of course, Turkey. Now, it has an important position. This is the Black Sea. This is Russia. This is Ukraine and East Europe. Now, this is the Aegean Sea or the Mediterranean, and it's called the Aegean. The Eastern Mediterranean also works into the Aegean Sea, which is around, Aegean Sea is around Greece. Turkey is the bridge between the Black Sea and this. So, because it can control the Black Sea and the Russian fleet, the Black Sea fleet and all these countries and trade from there, it assumes importance. Okay. And because it controls the Eastern Mediterranean, it can, right? It is important. And in fact, in the First World War, the Ottomans at that time, one of the they were blocking trade from east to west, and the British interests largely were in this area, and the Turkish Hejaz railway went into Arabia. In those days, Saudi Arabia and all were not the states they are now. The Turks controlled a large part of Syria, Arabia, Jordan, and all that, and because especially when those monarchies were weak. If you have to read Lawrence of Arabia to understand how the Turks operated. But the Turks and the Ottoman Empire were pretty weak because internally there were issues. They were large but weak. The Britishers tried to build a railway. Incidentally, they tried to build a railway line from India to Baghdad and beyond. Yeah, and this Baghdad to counter the Turks, to build a logistics line to the Turks, to the Turkish front, because they were finding it difficult to logistically sustain whatever is there. Remember, you're talking of the time when Lawrence of Arabia times, deserts, no communications and all that. They also tried, I'm going back in First World War, so you understand the whole story. They tried this area at Gallipoli. They wanted to capture Gallipoli, get hold of Istanbul and control this land bridge. It failed. But then the Ottoman Empire, along with the German Empire, collapsed because the weight of the war made them collapse. And then the Britishers, because the Britishers had their colonies spread far and wide. The British Empire was virtually controlling Iran and Iraq at that time, and much of Arabia. It fell apart, and the Ottoman Empire, it was rotten from within. Okay, it was rotten from within. By then, the Britishers had full control over Egypt and all, the northern African states. The British were also helping the Greeks out. This is Greece. So if you look at it, the Ottoman Empire had to crumble. It crumbled. That was when Ataturk came and modernized it. Okay. So that much so. Now, north, south, this is about 500 kilometers. Right? Not a big country. 500 kilometers is what? From Chennai to Bangalore, or maybe a little beyond. Bangalore is 360 kilometers, right up to Mysore. That's it. Not a big country. Okay. East-west at 1600 kilometers. Right? 600 kilometers is what? The distance from here to Bombay. That's it. Okay. And the more important thing is it's got a coastline, of over 6,000 maritime coastline, either north and south. It's vulnerable navally from a naval point of view because it has to defend a huge coastline. But whatever you say or not say, whichever way, it's never been attacked from the thing except through during the Gallipoli time. And most of the islands here in the Dardanelles or the Aegean Sea are all Greek. They only got 2 islands. This thing. So all the islands, some of these islands are just about 10 kilometers away from Turkey. They're all Greek, and hence they have got a running fight with the Greeks. And Greece is the fount, as they say, of the old Western civilization. After the Greek civilization collapsed, the Roman civilization came up. We're going back in this thing. So Turkey in some way was the caliphate and the Islamic center. So there's a clash here. And the Greeks don't like the Turks and vice versa. And here there's this little island called Cyprus. Now Cyprus, northern part of Cyprus had Turks, the southern part had Greeks. At some point of time, they wanted to merge with Greece. The Turkish Cypriots didn't like it or didn't want it. So Turkey intervened. And now you have Cyprus, the Cypriot part, the Turkish Cypriot part, and the Greek Cypriot down south. It virtually functions as 2 countries, but still, that's an ongoing problem. UN was deployed there, all that. And it has not joined Greece. It is now an independent country, and we are having dealings with it. The Turkish part, though it is independent, doesn't have diplomatic relations. So whole lot. Right. So that's why it's written here. The maritime dispute between Greece and Turkey has had a lot of maritime problems also. It has got borders with Armenia. Have a look at it fully. Yeah, it has got borders with Armenia, right? Azerbaijan, a small thing with Azerbaijan, 17-kilometer border with Azerbaijan in the and Georgia, 273 kilometers. It's got a border with Iran. It's got a border with Iraq. It's got a border with Syria. Of course, it played a large part last year or earlier this year, in this upheaval in Syria. And the best part is, Turkey is a Sunni country, though it was helping Syria, the Shia Syria, Assad's rule. This HTS came out of nowhere and all this, right? And this side, it has got, this is the border with Europe. It's got a border with Greece, 190 kilometers, and with Bulgaria. Okay, 200 kilometers. So 400 kilometers border with Europeans and all that. But more importantly, it controls the Turkish Straits. The Turkish Straits, as they call, is the Dardanelles Strait. The Bosphorus. Bosphorus actually a river between or a canal, call it whatever you want, between the Black Sea and this Marmara Sea. This is called the Sea of Marmara. Though it's called a strait, it is called a strait because of these islands in between, which are Turkish islands, so they constrict. So these are the three straits: the Dardanelles, the Marmara Straits, and the Bosphorus. And this gives it a lot of, heft. This connect between, this is Russia, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Romania. All these countries depend on trade through Black Sea, so it gets control. And of course, in the good old days, the Mediterranean was the overland route to Asia, right? So it had control. And then, of course, it started losing control once Suez Canal came in. Then after that, it has got lost value. But Turkey has influence in most of the Islamic countries. Like I said, it's part of NATO, EU, SCO dialogue partner, wants to join. It wants to dominate the Islamic world. It has dreams, the caliphate dreams. It wants to be right. We have a problem here because this caliphate dreams also funnels or also fuels radicalism. You see, Osama bin Laden, what did he want? He wanted to establish a caliphate. The caliphate, where would have been this thing, we don't know. But the caliphate dreams it. Everyone in the Islam world wants to establish his own caliphate. Khalifa. Khalifa, that's the thing, word. And they wanted, someone says it should be in Saudi Arabia, someone says it should be in Pakistan, someone says it should be in Afghanistan, and someone it should be in Turkey, Istanbul, the original caliphate, right? The seat of the Ottoman Empire and the caliphs. It also wants, in some way, it feels the loss of Mughal India. Well, the Mughal India and the Ottoman Empire and the caliphs there had a good equation through Afghanistan and all that. And also through Persia. You see, the Persian influence on India. You see, if you look at the northern Indian, where did influence come? I mean, which are the main races or the civilizations? The Turkish influence, the Persian influence, the Mongol influence, and the Afghan influence. Okay, that's the Delhi Sultanates. If you see, that's it. And with the Mughals, they had a great relationship. After Mughals, that was the last Sultanate in Delhi, the Mughal Sultanate. After that, there are no Sultanate in Delhi. They're all broken. Before that, you had 7 Sultanates. Lodi, all that. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. But the Turks yearn for that in some manner. right? And they also want to be the only link to Europe and Asia. This link. So any link, so they are against the IMEC. I'm touching this. I'll get back to the IMEC because IMEC bypasses Turkey completely. It bypasses the Shia world completely and Turkey. And IMEC is the antidote to BRI. So China is against it. Pakistan is against it. Okay, and it frees all these countries: India, UAE, Saudis, Israel, and the Europe from the stranglehold of BRI. And Turkey is upset. It bypasses everyone. Okay, and it has a hand in all regional conflicts, whether it's in Syria, whether even now for Hamas, it supports Hamas against Israel. It's a it's a it was supporting this fellow Bashar al-Assad in Syria. But now that this chap, HTS chap, has come in, Al-Shara, it supports him. It's completely against Kurdish independence and ambitions. Okay, it's pretty ruthless against them. Uh, it does a lot of funny things. Okay, it has got a presence in Qatar. Incidentally, Qatar, has the US CENTCOM. As an antidote to the US CENTCOM, Qatar has allowed 1,000 troops from Turkey to be stationed there. What they'll do, we don't know. But there are, so it wants to play its part in the Middle East politics and the Islamic world. The triangle of Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey vying for Muslim dominance of the Islamic world. You can never rule it out. Okay, and of course, like I said, it want to interfere in, or rather play a part in Russia-Ukraine war. It also wants to play a part here, Armenia, Azerbaijan area. So here is a funny thing. Turkey supports Azerbaijan against Armenia, and we know that. And Israel supports also Azerbaijan. They have a convergence and they have a divergence. So this is a complicated kind of a country you're dealing with. Okay, so the axis which is operating against us is Turkey, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan. But Azerbaijan is a thing which I think we can corner through Israel. Why is Israel pally with Azerbaijan? Because there's a border with Iran, the northern border with Iran, and that's vulnerable for Iran. So I mean, this is how it is. Okay, now important. Pak-Turkey cooperation. Have a look at it and let me explain. Right? So, it's not new. The military cooperation started in 2009 in a very clear manner. If you see, every year they gave upgrading submarines, the naval help, air force help, electro-optical pods and targeting of AO. So you find, naval, air force, UAVs, even a air-launched cruise missile. They're now into the fifth generation Khan. They want to develop a fifth generation. Turkey wants to develop a fifth generation aircraft fighter Khan. And in that program, Pakistan is part of it. So there is a huge thing which is growing. So when we look at Pakistan and say, okay, they have options, don't have many options with China. They have options with Turkey. So don't be surprised if tomorrow the Pak-Turk cooperation starts blooming, because Pakistan is wily. Okay, and we'll talk of Pak in India-Turk relations as we go along. So this is a issue which you have to understand. That's why I got this. I did show it long back. So Pakistan feels Turkey is the alternate to China and USA if they are cut off. And to some extent, Pakistan also once upon a time used to feel that Indonesia was its alternative. So, well, that's not working that way like earlier. But there is an issue in all this. Okay. Right, let's get ahead. Okay, let's look at India and Turkey. Okay. India and Turkey have, I said, had historical relations, good, bad, ugly, both. I mean, all three. But let's look at the modern thing, you know, today's. Uh, Around 90s, 2000, early part of this century, Turkey-India relations started becoming better. There was talk of even military cooperation, yeah, all that gone. Now it's gone. And to the extent 2023 in Operation Dost, we sent, they had a major earthquake in Turkey, Syria area. And we helped them a lot. Search and rescue operations, yeah, all that. And they didn't thank us. Actually, we should have got the indication then itself, but we didn't. We expanded our relationship with them, and that's where I think we failed a bit. The thankless country, Turkey. We have to understand that it's a thankless country, and Turkey. I don't see going further. India-Turkey relations going ahead in a normal manner. They've had the negative stance against Kashmir ever since I remember. They back Pakistan. Okay, they talk the Pakistani language. So if Pakistan has a spokesman, it's Turkey. Even now, in the last UN General Assembly, Erdogan went and spoke for Kashmir, the Pakistan line, right? Op Sindoor, we know, how Turkey helped Pakistan, especially in their drones and all that. So we have to counter their influence. And to counter their influence, India has already chosen. It is not as if we didn't realize or we didn't take thing, but we kept it on the low key. But I think 2025 we made a decisive move because we've started becoming friendly with Greece. We've started becoming friendly with Cyprus and Armenia, right? Greece, Cyprus, and Armenia. So if you go back to this thing, this is Cyprus, this is Greece, and of course this is Armenia, which means you are actually tackling Turkey from all three sides. Threat. You see, it's not a military threat really. It's a physical. I mean, it's a psychological threat. Tomorrow, if something else happens and you actively support Cyprus, the Greece Cyprus, and throw the Turkish part out, or rather, break the Turkish Cypriots, that home rule kind of a thing which they're doing. Because they're doing it because they have the Turkish influence. Then it's a loss of great influence to Turkey. And then if tomorrow there's a spat between Greece and Turkey, okay, or Turkey becomes adventurous and goes and occupies one or two islands, and then Greece, we can help Greece in sorting it out. So there are a lot of angles in this whole story. Armenia, of course, from the west, or sorry, the east, you can pressurize them. So we have started this story. They want BRIC membership, and we have not allowed it. If they have to get into BRICS, they need our approval. But then we'll have to play the Trump game here. We'll have to tell Trump, yeah, you decide whether this chap has to be in NATO. He's a NATO and a member, or he has to be part of BRICS. You're telling India, look at this joker, and we should tell Trump, look, we can stop all this nonsense. You have to be friendly with us. So you have to play this game diplomatically, political, military, diplomatic game we have to play. Yeah, military and defense cooperation, their drones and all that technology which they're giving it to Pakistan, I've already said. We've done deployments this year with Greece and with Cyprus naval. And of course, Armenia, we have a defense cooperation. We sell guns to them, we sell missiles to them, and all that. They're very clear. Yeah, and in 24, we had a shipbuilding contract with Turks. We've cancelled it. Okay, and then the Turkish aviation services company Celebi, That also we cancelled. Not only Celebi, Carandon was doing a wet lease of aircraft to Indigo. Even that has gone. With that break of the wet lease, the tourist thing, yeah, that's the next slide. Economic and trade relations. That has also gone down. Okay. We had a positive balance of trade with Turkey and it was growing. That we have cancelled. We have brought it down. 2 years back, the trade, India-Turkey trade was about 13.8 billion. Now it's down to 8.7 billion because contracts have to go through. So there is a economic backlash from our side. Whether it will affect Turkey or not, I doubt, because the actual trade is not that much. And look, that's also a $1 trillion economy. Okay, and it's 1/3 or say 1/4 your GDP, but it's 1/10 your population. So it's a strong economy. We have to understand that. But in the larger sense, we definitely are the stronger economy in the nation, and we can do a lot of things against Turkey internationally. Okay, so and at the end of the day, things like travel, tourism, and all matter. Last year, I saw a lot of people going to Turkey, my friends, and I also was like, thinking, okay, let's go to Turkey because I've not seen Turkey, to be very honest. Right. And I said, let's go and see Turkey, but now I don't think that will come. And it doesn't matter. Okay, now we'll talk a little about the India Middle East Economic Corridor. See, this corridor we know goes from India, goes to Jebel Ali. Jebel Ali is the UAE port. From there, it gets on to the mainland, goes across Saudi Arabia, crosses Jordan, crosses Israel. Israel, you need Haifa. And for Haifa, the IMEC can only go through when Haifa opens up completely. And Haifa will open up when Gaza, some peace. And I see that happening. And ironically, now Pakistan is being forced to go into Gaza as part of the international stabilization force. So Pakistan will do a good turn to us, because whatever they do in Gaza, whether peace in Gaza or not, is a later day story. Whether Pakistan, what kind of a problem it will create there, is also a next great, tomorrow's story. But that will result in protecting the IMEC. Once that IMEC is gone, then it's through. Then we go to Piraeus in Greece, and from Piraeus it goes to Europe. It can go overland to Europe, or again by sea to Italy and France and off. And Italy is very keen. It comes in. So I'm building thing where we go back to Turkey. Just wait. So, and to the best of my knowledge, the track up to Saudi Arabia is open already. A lot of work on the IMEC. Everyone is clear that IMEC will have to succeed. That's the okay. You'll keep hearing some sounds because there are people. Today is Deepavali and people are bursting crackers. Right. Now, when you look at this is a thing. This is a more detailed thing. What is IMEC all about? From Bombay to Jebel Ali by ship, and maybe pipelines, submerged pipelines, and then across by rail and pipelines from Jebel Ali to Haifa, and from here to Piraeus, and on by ships. It completely avoids Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. And hence, Turkey economy will be squeezed. Now, the Turkish people are not happy about it, because if the thing goes through that, their economy will benefit. We've bypassed them. We've also bypassed Africa. We've also bypassed Egypt and the Suez Canal, and we've also bypassed this Red Sea choke of Bab el Mandab. So a lot of people are going to be very happy about it. Incidentally, why did IMEC come? The fundamental reason for IMEC, which is now being completely anchored by Europe, is the fact that you are the biggest refiner. Incidentally, India is the biggest refiner and exporter of oil. Some refining you do, if it goes even to USA. Okay, we have refining capacity. So, and IMEC has to go through. That's the way I look at it. Now, getting back to Turkey. Will Turkey's got a pretty good navy, incidentally. It's got, I'll not go into it. It's got a pretty good navy. Let's look at it because it works at NATO standards. Can Turkey interfere in this IMEC? Because Turkey is losing out on IMEC. That's a question which everyone will ask. Can Turkey do that? Will Turkey do that? That's the next thing. Why? Because if Turkey does it, it is doing against NATO members. France, Italy mainly, and the rest, including Greece, Will they allow it? And then we've been doing our presence in the Eastern Mediterranean, and right, is increasing. We've been doing exercises with France. We're doing exercises with Italy. We just done this year. We've done an exercise with Greece, and we also done an exercise, or rather, we've done something with Cyprus. So you can finger Turkey if they try and finger IMEC. So you build a politico-diplomatic chain around or to support this corridor. So to that extent, you're on a better wicket with Turkey. Earlier, they could do what they want. Now they have to worry. If they try and finger us through Pakistan, we can finger them through Greece, Cyprus, and Armenia. We can. It's not as if you can't. Okay. So that's what I've said. We've done exercise with Greece, we've done exercise with Cyprus, and we are countering the Turkish influence in this area. On that, there's no doubt. And we've done naval exercises not only here, we've done with Greece, Italy, France, Spain, Egypt, Morocco, Armenia. All Armenia, of course, is not a naval exercise, military cooperation, training, all that. So it is just not. It is just not this. Even the north coast of Africa, Morocco is here. We've got started relating with them, right? Egypt, everyone, right? So we have expanded our diplomatic outreach and the military outreach. Morocco is important to understand. Our chief of army staff went recently to Morocco. Yeah. Okay, because if IMEC comes, this Mediterranean will be a route for us, and I am very happy that we are expanding there. Your influence starts going. See, if you look at it from a slightly different viewpoint, your influence starts growing. Started growing. Started going into Morocco. Whoever thought that an army chief will go to Morocco? He went. So obviously there's a plan afoot. So you are now going beyond your sphere of influence, which was originally between Gulf of Aden to Strait of Malacca. Now you've gone to the Mediterranean. You started acting in the Mediterranean already. And then you have already started exercises with Philippines and Australia. So your influence is spreading. So your area of interest is now probably the Strait of Gibraltar. This is the Strait of Gibraltar. You have to redefine. As India grows, its influence is growing, naval influence, and hence it's no more just the Indian Ocean. You can say that our thing is in the Pacific also. It's also in the Mediterranean. So people have to understand, as you expand, your issues will increase and your capabilities have to increase accordingly. And that is why if you see, you need to invest finally more into the military. If you want to be a power of reckoning, you want to be the third largest or the fourth largest economy, whichever way you look at it, or the big one, big three economies, which you are, well, you don't have a choice but to invest into your military. You don't have a choice to invest into your military, your navy, your air force, and army. Are we doing that enough? Not much. Be very honest, not much. We're lagging. What is the thing? Is it just the government fault? I don't think it's just the government fault. It's a cultural affair and many more things. So we leave it at that. Now, this is what I thought I'll tell you. We have to be careful about Turkey because all the reasons I've said so, and we have to counter its influence. Okay, right. And at the end of the day, why am I doing it on Deepavali? It's not a matter of Deepavali. There were a lot of people who said, "Sir, will you give a idea of what Turkey, all that is all about?" So I thought I'll put this across to you today about Turkey, which is our over the horizon adversary. Make no mistake, it's not our friend, it's our adversary.